you so much for coming.
You're welcome.
I appreciate your effort in coming all the way here.
I
Really,
agreed to come, so no problem at all.
you are my, let me say, the Dambe big
I
brother.
know, right? I know, right? And it was just this weekend I'm praying that Otomi, you don't speak.
I can speak
You can
basic.
speak basic. Yeah. Just recently I'm saying that I think I have to try and let my Dangme side show more.
Wow. So, tell me a bit about your upbringing. Yeah,
All right. My name is Eugene Tomote Zuta.
I like that.
I hail from Old Ningo,
Okay.
where my father comes from, and then my mom comes from Krobo. I think Krobo Dumasi to be precise. So I am a fully and thoroughly bred Dangme boy. However, as we may have it, I grew up in Accra, in Ghana.
Okay.
I grew up in places like Abosokai, places like Begbe Ise, Dansoman Begbe Ise, Shiabu, Zone 6 area. Yes. And then partly also spent a lot of my young growing up life in Dansoman.
Wow.
Yeah. And so I'm the first of my parents, and I have 3 more siblings, boys who come after me. And then what else will I say? I love the Lord. Grew up in the Presbyterian Church of Ghana, where I was a major. I grew up in the children's service, and then with Junior Y, which is called JY by then. I think we were the first batch of JY.
Okay.
JY people. Then music started for me in the Presby Church
Wow.
at JY.
Okay.
And then eventually I joined the YPG, and then there was this church band, and I mean that's how the yearnings started.
Okay.
I spent part of my life also, my formative years, attended JHS Junior High School in a town in Greater Accra called Asutrari, where you have the first sugar factory. Of course, now it's no longer functioning. And in that place, we had this church in the community called Eternal Life Mission Church, and where I was part of the Sunday school. And the Sunday school started a choir. And I was the tallest person in the choir, so not necessarily the person with the nicest voice. But being part of that choir sparked something in me. So I remember as young as I was, I think around 11, 10-ish there, 11, 12-ish there, I started praying that the Lord would make my voice nice. And then, I'm sure you've not heard that one before.
Wow.
And then the Lord would grant me grace to be able to sing well. Around that same time, my father started taking us to Akosombo for full gospel meeting.
Okay.
I must confess, what I really like about the full gospel meeting was the breakfast. I mean, once a while you would have potatoes and eggs, scrambled eggs and stuff, and I usually look forward to that. But one of the other side attractions to me was that I got to hear the gospel music greats around that time. So talk of Auntie Dinah Hobson, by then Dinah Kiyomi, Dr. Onyamendaye,
Mergansa.
Dr. Mergansa, Reverend Dr. Mergansa, and then there was one minister called David Dynamics. People like Yabs. I mean, it was a powerful time.
Wow.
So I will come back from that meeting. I don't know why, of all the things that will happen, with this burning passion to want to also sing.
Mm-hmm.
And you know, way back when I was we live in Accra, Bosokai. I remember when I was around 9 years old, there used to be this young little boy who was just a few years older than me, and the mom who would be washing every Saturday morning. It was a compound house, and the guy can sing.
Wow.
By then, the guy was a bad boy.
Interesting.
But when he gets to that time and he's singing, everybody seemed to like him.
Wow.
So I said, me too, I want to sing so that people like me like that. And so there's been bits and pieces of this inspiration in the past. I think God was just using it to sow the seed in me.
Wow.
So eventually, when I got back to Accra, my church, YPG, it's called Trinity Presby Congregation at Dansoman. Okay. They started a band, and I joined the band. I remember we used to use a talk. I don't know if you know those talk combos. Very old talk combos. Okay. Yeah, we used to use them for our vocal. So we pass the line through the talk, and then we also play the bass and the keyboard and everything. Yes. I remember the first time I sang through it. I don't know whether it was my voice or the interference in the combo. One of the my choir ladies said my voice sounded like that of a monkey.
Oh, how did that make you feel?
Awful, awful. But I know the person. I know she meant no malice, and so eventually she used to pay for my transport to come back to church when I was in school to come and sing. Wow. So I mean, it was just fun. I mean, it was an innocent comment, but I mean, Charlie, by then, it got to me a bit. And so it continued from there. Then after a while, I joined because of music. You get to a point, the quality of music and then the kind of growth you are expecting begins to plateau because of where you are. So there was this group called Mount Olivet Voices at Mount Olivet Methodist Church, just a few meters away from our church. So I started joining them for rehearsals and ministrations, and eventually I stayed in the church. So from Presby, I went to Methodist. And so I was at Presby for a while, and from there, Methodist for a while, and from there I went to the University of Cape Coast. Okay. And then that opened up a whole different level of growth and development.
Wow.
Yeah.
You hold on to that, so we'll continue. Wow. Before we go to the UCC bit, how was home like growing up? And relating to maybe influencing you musically?
I don't come from a musical home, if that is what you mean. The best that I can remember is that my father said he used to be one of the drummers of the traditional drums in the palace. Yeah, and we come from quite more like a poor home, and so it's not like I had any privilege of learning anything musically. So for me, unlike many others, I was not born with a musical instrument in my hands or any golden voice or anything. It was just purely a passion that the Lord planted in me that He began to nurture by giving opportunities, and that's how I grew.
Wow.
Yes. And then environment that was created at church. Okay. Also. Actually it was that desire to serve and then to love God through that passion. Like it was something that was burning. I couldn't do anything about it.
Wow.
I mean, yes. The same thing with songwriting. I mean, I have not gone to any songwriting school or anything. What I know now in terms of technicalities, I started practicing before I gained the knowledge. You understand? And so for me, it was purely God at work. Purely God at work. Yeah.
Wow. I can identify with what you just said about the technicalities. Doing it before getting to know what you did.
Yes.
I can identify with it.
Yes. Later, I thought that was weird, but later I think I found out in Exodus 30 or 35 that speaks about when God wanted Moses to build the tabernacle in the wilderness. By then, there has not been any trained, skilled people to do the work. And God said, told Moses he has 2 people already in the camp, Aholiab and Bezalel, that he has already placed the gifts in them to work in all manner of work. And so he should just commission them to do the work. And so I came to realize that sometimes God can also place the gift in you.
True.
The latent form of it is the talent that we normally are born with, that we normally will have to fan into flames. True. Yeah, so basically that's part of my music story.
Wow. do you remember any awkward moment, like those Presby days or Methodist days? Awkward moment like ministering and maybe it didn't go well. Those kind of.
Oh, plenty. There's been many times. I think I remember one of them, which was when I thought I had written my first song, and I was so excited to share it. And then I shared it at a program, and Charlie, the kind of response I got, it wasn't exciting. I mean, and then times when you have sung out of key. I mean, I remember one particular situation where, this song, Shabidabide, Spam Pam, and then Charlie, this Presby boys, we went to learn the song, and Charlie, we came to church and we're singing Shabidabide. Then by then we had an answer from Mommy. And he said, "You people should stop what you are singing there. You are blaspheming against God. What are you saying? Is it tongues and is it even if it is tongues, is it your tongues, And I thought that was really, really awkward, And I think that from that formative years, we made quite a lot of mistakes. I mean, in handling our voices and all, but by God's grace, I think this is how far we have come.
Wow. That's a loaded story. That's a loaded story. So now let's go to the UCC bit.
Yeah.
First of all, what did music influence your choice of UCC? Going to UCC?
No.
Because I know people who chose tech because of music.
I am one of those people, and I actually chose tech.
Wow.
Like I chose tech. I will not have any other university. So in that year, I think it was in 2000, I chose tech. And I think 2001, I chose tech, and I didn't pick any other event because Charlie, around that time you've been hearing stories that Charlie, there are the new kinds there are the coders there are the McCaffrey Kwames, there are the Henry Dachimos and co, and you are told how tight. So any one of us. So I wanted to join Explo, I wanted to join Pop Choir, and I was going to join Mass Choir. And my God, Charlie, I was going to have a powerful. So let me tell you the truth. I had written remedial because I failed my chemistry. And so I wrote, and I did well the second time. And then, so I was really sure I was going to get tech. But I did not choose my course. I didn't choose tech because of my course.
Music.
All I wanted was a course that would give me entry into the school. And I was going to just do the music. To the extent that, there used to be, I don't know whether it's Cambodia or what they used to call it. So there were those of us who didn't have very strong grades.
Okay.
And we are normally on the borderline. And so you normally will go to the school and stay there for like 2 or 3 weeks, hoping that Charlie, when they finish admissions, they will push you in. Look, I was at the chemistry department, Charlie, trying to work my way. I was almost for 2 weeks. I was always sitting at administration.
Wow.
For 2 weeks, just trying to get into tech. And trust you me, it had nothing to do with academic work. It was because I wanted to enter in just so that I can be part of pop, I can be part of Explo and Mass Choir.
Interesting story.
I know, but not knowing what God was working behind the scenes, and I didn't get it, and I was really, 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 really sad. So, God knows, I chose UCC out of necessity. Today I confess.
Out of that necessity of choosing UCC, just for choosing sake.
Yeah.
When
Yeah.
you got there, first year, the first few weeks, did you join Echoes Rights when you entered school, or it took a while?
So my then music director had Olivet Voices, and one of the other music directors I really admire within the Methodist setting, Mr. Sami Hodasi, were all former music directors of Echoes of Calvary.
Okay.
And so before I left Accra, I knew the ministry I was going to be part of
Okay.
before I landed
Cape Coast.
in Cape Coast. Even then, I didn't know that Joyful Way was on campus.
Okay.
If I had known, I'm sure there would have been a lot of confusion, because I had already applied to be part of Joyful Way in Accra, and my application was being considered. It was after spending 1 year in UCC before I got a letter of invitation to come for audition. By then, I was already in UCC and I had joined Echoes. So I went into Echoes like from day one.
Okay.
When I stepped on campus. It wasn't like I was considering, because
Okay.
I had already been introduced from home.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow. And how was the Echoes experience?
Oh, like
Before we come to the album production part.
no,
the
Echoes of Calvary was or has been one of the best things that ever happened to me musically. Because when I got there, I went to meet a group that was not necessarily technically so tight, but in terms of the ministry aspect of what we were doing, I met a team that was really sold out. And I had the opportunity of being mentored by some of the brethren who had really done the ministry on campus and are well into it. And they also brought in resource persons, external resource persons. We had access to books, I don't know how to explain it.
Wow.
And so here I was from an evangelistic music ministry team, joining another music ministry team that is totally evangelistic, but goes deeper into growing you as a vessel of the music ministry. And so it was exciting.
Wow.
I mean, my first year in Echoes was exciting. And you are given room. You are given room. Like from year one, my potential as a praise and worship leader was recognized by the team. And so I was given room to operate. Eventually, within the first year, I became one of the main praise and worship leaders. And please, I took it as World Cup. If service is starting at 6:30, I was there at 6. Because at Gaffers UCC, we were the praise and worship leaders were the people who start, the team that starts the service right after opening prayer.
Okay.
And so I took it, Charlie, World Cup cry.
Wow. And for you to be a first year student and become a lead or one of the choice praise and worship leaders, that was a big deal in
uni.
There could be a tight squad, like abundant tight squad.
Like for a 4-year, yeah. Unfortunately for us, or unfortunately for me, there were not so many praise and worship leaders in the ministry.
Okay.
Yes, and because they were seniors also, the schedule for lectures and things used to affect them. And so we had come, Charlie, with fresh blood. And I mean, somebody who wanted to go to tech and has come to UCC, Charlie, I took it personal.
Let's look at your progress in Echoes. You became president or MD?
No, I became MD in second year.
Second year?
Yes. And then handled MD again in third year.
Wow.
Yes.
Wow. So what triggered the desire to release, to work on an album for Echoes?
All right. So what happened was that when I was home with Olivet Voices, I actually did remedial. So I had to stay home for about 3 years.
Wow.
After SHS. And so during that period, God did something interesting with me. So that was one of the periods where I moved to Olivet Voices, and that was a training for me in terms of the spirituality of the music ministry, the maturity, the spiritual maturity of and preparation of the vessel, and then the honing of the other accessory and associated skills. So I remember it was around that time, I think 98 to 2000, that I had this strong impression that I needed to be able to write songs. Now here is someone who doesn't play any instrument, who has no foundation in music theory or anything, wanting to write songs. So I remember I read something in the Bible about Aholiab and Bezalel. So I started praying and telling the Lord that, Lord, you have done it before. So please grant me grace. I want to write songs that would draw people into your presence. One of the people who really inspired me was the songs of Reverend Yours. By then he was the top person, and he was writing the contemporary music. By then, writing in English, writing in Chi and stuff. And so I told the Lord, I need to. And though I was a Ghana Dangbe boy, I am a Ghana Dangbe boy. By then I couldn't even speak the Chi very well. I used to be one of the people who says shwe. You know that shwe.
I'm going to come there.
You know. So I really prayed and asked the Lord to grant me grace to write songs.
Wow.
And so you should be the judge whether he answered a prayer or not.
He has more than answered.
And so when I went to UCC, since I really wanted to go to tech because I felt like, Charlie, with the basic things I am learning with these people like Koda and Neil Kai and the guys who've gone ahead of me, I can learn so much from them to improve myself. I wasn't even thinking about contributing. But when I went to UCC, UCC, we have our own music going, by then we're not known as a strong music in terms of technicality campus, because we're not producing anything necessarily. But when I got there, I told myself that if I can't go to tech, we'll make it like tech in my 4 years.
Wow.
That's what I did. And so it is something I even prayed about. In my level 100, I have a friend, he's called Edward Bryant. We got into trouble for saying that in our time, we are going to make Echoes better. And we'll make Echoes and UC Campus like tech.
Wow.
Between myself and Eddie Bryant. And we spent time in prayer a lot about all those things.
Wow.
And so that background from what I started writing. So I started writing basic songs from home. And so when I got to UCC, I saw the idea. I also went to meet, the last album they did was in the 80s. And so when my music director then, he's now Dr. Nana Kresi Meno, we started talking about, Charlie, we wish we could also write songs and do a new album for Echoes of Calvary. And so preparation met opportunity. Mm-hmm. And then,
wow.
So I started writing the songs.
Wow. The Echoes album.
Yeah.
How many of the songs did you write?
So there were 11 songs on the album. I wrote 9. Of course, with various contributions from the rest of the team. But by God's grace and without boasting, God used me to originate all the 9 songs.
Wow.
So from Okasa to the arrangement of Da Onyame Ase, which I had a privilege to lead that song, and then Nyehawala. Nyehawala is actually a praise me hymn I adapted.
Okay.
Yeah. Nyehawala.
Okay.
Da 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 da. Da 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 da. Nyehawala. Yeah, so I just and then we took it to Koda, and then he did something else to it, And then I did Oyo covering you myself. Oyo hende muma yansumno cover be poneso.
Okay.
Hona ya kwanchi. The salsa.
Oh,
yeah.
I remember.
Yeah.
Wow. And then The
Akufrubo,
Adwa.
Akojebo,
I remember the
Siadio,
video very well.
Kasapre Kue. So I did the verse, the basic verse, and then I got the chorus of that song when I was writing an examination.
Wow.
So I had finished writing the exam. The tune still was going through my mind. Of course, that should let you know that the exam went well. Otherwise, so I turned the back of the paper and I wrote the chorus on it. And when we came back, my roommate is called Daniel Apia. He was also on the team, and then he came up with the first line on the verse that we should start with Okofrobo Okojibo, and then we put the song together. Yes.
Interesting. So instead of you concentrating on finishing
no, that should tell you how passionate I was. By the time I got to level 300, people didn't know that I was not a music major.
Wow.
That I was a science. I was a science BS science biology major.
Interesting revelations.
People didn't know.
Wow, and for you being a Dambe boy and writing in fancy and using those adjectives, I'm just wondering.
There's even one song that has not been released. There's an anthem that has not been released yet. That is even much more scarier.
Wow,
it's much more scary. Like I told you, around the time I started having a desire to write and a passion, for some strange reason, I realized that all the songs around me that were really making impact were Akan songs. They were Twi in the Twi language. Okay. And so somehow I told the Lord that He should help me to write songs in Twi. So I was quite specific. He should help me to write songs in Twi. And here, I couldn't even speak proper Twi. But you know something funny happened? The Holy Spirit, I think, led me to the Equiapen Bible.
Wow.
And by some strange reason, even without any training, I started reading it. Like from the beginning, I wasn't quite proficient. But time after time, I became much more proficient. Wow. To the extent that today, I can read considerably well.
Wow.
And so I would be there and I would hear words in my mind. Like I could hear words in my mind. And I would put the songs together, and the people who are like Akants would not even understand it and would go and ask elderly people and they will confirm. That is when I knew that no, this one is not my mind. And so actually, a lot of people don't understand why I have challenges with taking awards and things. It's because of one of the reasons because of this. Because mostly I don't originate the song.
I get you.
So I can't take glory for it necessarily.
I get you, but in the eyes of men,
no. So I understand. You know, each one of us have we have our our own covenants by which we operate. You understand?
Okay.
If I operate by someone else's covenant, I may lose my place.
True.
Yeah. So I'm talking about something that is peculiar to me.
Okay.
Yes.
Interesting. Now let's continue the Okasa album.
Yeah.
Now that album was a shifter in the contemporary music space on the campuses, not just even on the campuses, but in Ghana, it was a shift album.
Though we didn't recognize it by then we those working on them,
True.
those songs, didn't recognize that was what was happening.
Yeah. Wow. So, how was it like working with Koda on that album?
All right. You wouldn't want to hear the demo of that album because it is like 10,000 miles away from the final work.
Wow.
But after producing the demo, we decided we were thinking of who to do that. And then my then music director, Dr. Chris Menu, just felt like Koda has been one of the people at the forefront of the productions in tech. Mm-hmm. Around that time, the project Onwa it was already the pop choir on one
pop.
was also has already been produced, and then that project was also, I mean, making waves, and so we just felt like, Charlie, we needed someone within the students in the student space who can champion and then give us some good vibes, and so I think the lot fell on Koda.
Wow. Was the demo produced by a different person?
Yes,
Okay.
it was produced by a different person in Cape Coast.
Okay.
Yes, but of course, the person who produced it is not necessarily in a contemporary space.
Okay.
And so what was produced was appreciably okay. We could have used it. But in terms of the contemporary sound that mixed then the joyful wish sound with the new kind of Western sound that we the contemporary space is now noted for. We didn't have any clear cut person. No, we had only few people. So I knew about Uncle Zap Mallet, and then around that time, Uncle TVO Lamptey was also doing great. But we settled on Koda, who of course had also been mentored by Uncle TVO. Eventually, we did all the audio recording at Uncle TVO's place in Accra.
Wow, that's incredible.
Yeah. And so Koda brought new life to the project. Around that time, we didn't have all the talent we have today. So Koda played every single instrument for every single song on that project.
And
programmed drums and everything.
Wow.
On that project. Wow. Every single thing. Unless someone else did something he didn't tell us of.
I can imagine. Koda is wow.
And for information, Okasa was the last song we added. I didn't add that song.
That thing always happens.
Yes, I didn't add that song because I felt like I held that song back because I felt like it was too simple. It was like some way, and let's forget about the song. And then my music director, outgoing music director by then, insisted that song should be added.
Hey, why didn't you want to add it?
No, I felt it didn't sound nice.
Hey.
Oh yeah.
So looking at that time and what that song has done till now and still doing.
Yeah.
How do you feel?
I felt like it was just immaturity speaking. Yeah. Wow. And I'm grateful to have elder brothers like that who knew better. Yeah.
Wow. You know, I've heard other stories on albums or projects where the song that became the standout songs were either about to be dropped or they were last.
Yeah, for example, for my first album like this, the Familiar song was the last song we added.
Interesting. Wow. That Okasa song and the whole album, it's
And, you know, many years later was when I look back and I realized that we have made some great impact. And there were times when in my lonely days I feel like things should have worked a certain way and they are not. The Holy Spirit reminds me that, guy,
you've had some
all
days.
the work that has been done, assuming you stop working now, they are still great works.
Wow.